Koinonia House presents The Book of Daniel, a commentary by Dr. Chuck Missler. Now let's begin with the Book of Daniel.
We're going to undertake a study of the book of Daniel, and this book is one of the most fantastic books in the Bible for some very specific reasons. But I also have to share with you that for me personally, it's probably the book that impacted my life as a young, impressionable teenager more than any other thing. I had come to the Lord in my teens. I accepted Jesus Christ, but like most youth, was busy doing my things. But I had a friend that happened to have a copy of Sir Robert Anderson's classic work called The Coming Prince. That book at that time was out of print. This was a treasure that he gave me as a gift. And as I got into it, I was blown away. Now that book, in the meantime, you see, it was originally published in 1894 by Sir Robert Anderson. He was head of Scotland Yard. He was knighted. But he made some discoveries about the book of Daniel that are really quite startling, and we will be dealing with those when we get further into the book. But that so astonished me. It was the book of Daniel and the discoveries in that book that galvanized me into the reality that Jesus Christ really is who he claimed to be. You say you can't prove the Bible. Wrong, you can, if you do a little bit of homework. And the book of Daniel stands as a pillar, as an apologetic, as well as a book of prophecy in both terms. So I think you're going to find it one of the most rewarding studies that you can undertake. The book of Daniel, of course, we're in session 1, which is introduction, and we'll deal with chapter 1, which is basically the deportation of these teenage kids by a foreign power. Now, to put this in broad perspective as we look at the panorama of history, obviously, we're far beyond Genesis, the creation of man, all the way through Abraham and so forth. We're beyond the Exodus. We're, in fact, even beyond the monarchy. We're at the collapse of the monarchy. We are really in the beginning of what's called the exile, the Babylonian captivity. We're right on the threshold of that, to put you in perspective here. Why study the book of Daniel? Well, I've mentioned because of the personal impact it had on me is one of the reasons I wanted to get that across. But the other reason most people undertake a study of this book is that it reveals all of Gentile history in advance. The Bible generally deals with history, both past and future, through the lens of Israel. You generally see things, biblically, from the frame of reference of God's chosen people, the nation Israel. But there are a couple of exceptions to that, and 2 of those exceptions are in this book, where the focus is on Gentile dominion. In fact, the book of Daniel shifts from Hebrew to Aramaic, which was the Gentile language in that day, for those portions. In fact, it may shock you to discover that there is a chapter in the Bible that was written by Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the world at that time. He not only wrote it, he posted it throughout the world. And for some reasons that I'll share with you when we get there, I'll share with you a suspicion I have. When I get to heaven, I expect to see Nebuchadnezzar there. That will surprise a lot of people, maybe even him. But the other thing I want you to do as we go through this book, I want you to have the benefit of the discovery of the validation of this book. And I'm going to spare you hours of boring textual research, which supports it, because we have an end run on all of that. I'm going to spare you, with a couple of small exceptions, I'm going to spare you the archaeological discoveries. There are many. The book of Daniel is the most authenticated book in the Scripture. It also validates itself with the most astonishing passage that's in the entire Bible. There's a passage in this book that by its very being there, with the precision of it being there, should put any rebuttals to silence. A bulletproof proof of the deity of Jesus Christ. And we'll deal with that, of course, when we get there. Now, most of you are probably tired of
Sample complete. Ready to continue?